Hey everyone, I'm Harper. I'm about to graduate from one of the top universities in the country with a degree in computer science. It's been a crazy journey and I'm proud of how far I've come. But if I'm being real, my family life is complicated. My parents split when I was a kid, and after that, my dad's side of the family pretty much disappeared. That includes my Uncle Robert. I have these vague memories of him visiting when I was little. There was one time he helped us out during a rough patch, but it's all kind of hazy now. As graduation gets closer, I've been thinking a lot about the past. I've worked so hard these last 4 years, but there's this nagging feeling that something's missing. Hey Jess, you okay? That's Mike, my boyfriend. He's been my rock through all the madness of college. Yeah, I'm good. Just thinking about family stuff, I say, trying to brush it off. Your dad's side again? He asks, raising an eyebrow. I nod, chewing on my lip. I was thinking about inviting Uncle Robert to graduation. I admit, testing the waters. Mike gives me a skeptical look. The estranged uncle? Are you sure that's a good idea? I don't know. Maybe it's time to try and rebuild some bridges. I pull out my phone and start scrolling through social media, searching for him. It takes a while, but I finally find Uncle Robert's profile. My finger hovers over the message button. What's the worst that could happen? I mumble as I type out an invite. Life goes on. I'm juggling finals, prepping for job interviews, and trying to hold onto my sanity. A few days later, my phone pings. It's Uncle Robert. He accepted the invite. Holy crap, I say out loud, staring at my screen. What's up? Mike asks, glancing up from his textbook. Uncle Robert, he's coming to the graduation. Mike sets his book aside. Wow. How do you feel about that? I let out a shaky breath. Nervous, excited, I don't know. It's weird, right? A little, but hey, if this is what you want, I've got your back. Graduation day comes faster than I expected. My hands are shaking as I adjust my cap one last time. My best friend Alicia gives my arm a reassuring squeeze. You ready, Jess? As ready as I'll ever be, I reply, trying to calm the butterflies in my stomach. The ceremony feels like a blur. Before I know it, I'm walking across the stage, diploma in hand. I scan the crowd and spot my mom, her face glowing with pride. Then I see him, Uncle Robert, sitting a few rows back. He actually came. After the ceremony, I'm swept up in a sea of hugs and congratulations. My mom pulls me into a tight embrace, tears in her eyes. I'm so proud of you, sweetie. Thanks, Mom. I couldn't have done it without you. That's when I see Uncle Robert making his way toward me. He looks older than I remember, more gray in his hair now. Jess, congratulations. Thanks for coming, Uncle Robert. It really means a lot. He nods, then glances around. Can we talk privately for a moment? Curiosity gets the better of me, so I follow him to a quieter corner. That's when his demeanor shifts. So about that loan I gave your mother 10 years ago, he says. I blink, caught off guard. Loan? What loan? The $5,000 I lent her for your education. It's time to pay up. My jaw drops. I don't know anything about that. Are you sure? His face hardens. Of course I'm sure. Your mother promised she'd pay me back, and since it was for your education, I figure you should be the one to repay it. I'm stunned. This can't be happening, not today of all days. Uncle Robert, I just graduated. I don't have that kind of money. His voice rises. Well, you better figure it out. I didn't come here just for the ceremony, you know. People are starting to stare. I can feel my face heating up in embarrassment. Please, can we talk about this later? This isn't the time or place. No, we'll discuss it now, he snaps. That's when my mom notices the commotion and hurries over. Robert, what's going on? Uncle Robert turns to her, his tone sharp. Perfect timing, Lisa. Care to explain why your daughter hasn't paid me back? Mom's face pales. Robert, not here. Not now. Why not? It seems like the perfect time to me. The family's all together. Isn't that nice? His sarcasm cuts through the air. I look between them, completely lost. Can someone please tell me what's going on? Mom sighs. Honey, it's complicated. Your uncle did help us out a long time ago, but nothing. Uncle Robert cuts her off. I gave you that money in good faith, and you promised to pay it back. I see Mike pushing his way through the crowd, worry etched across his face. Everything okay here? He asks. Before I can answer, Uncle Robert scoffs. Oh great, the boyfriend. Did you know you're dating a freeloader? Excuse me? Mike's voice drops dangerously low. This is spiraling out of control. Everyone please, can we just take a breath? I say, trying to defuse the situation. Uncle Robert, I had no idea about this loan, and I'm sorry, but I can't pay you back right now. Maybe we can work something out later. Later? I've waited 10 years. Your mother's been dodging me, and now you're trying to do the same, he snaps. Mom steps between us. That's enough, Robert. You want to talk about the past? Fine, my mom's voice shakes with anger. Let's talk about how you manipulated Dad into changing his will. Or how about the money you borrowed from Aunt Sarah and never paid back? The air between them crackles, years of buried tensions rising to the surface like an electric storm. I'm caught in the middle of it all, watching helplessly as what should have been the happiest day of my life unravels into chaos. As I stand there, my heart pounding, I can't help but wonder what other secrets have been buried, hidden in the tangled web of my family's past. The graduation disaster left me reeling. Even after the crowd had dispersed and I was back home, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story than just an unpaid loan. So I decided to start digging. Mom, we need to talk about Uncle Robert, I said one evening, sitting down at the kitchen table, the weight of unresolved questions pressing on me. She sighed, her face etched with exhaustion. I was hoping we could just forget about all of that. I can't. Not until I know the truth. What really happened with that loan? For a moment, she hesitated, then slowly reached for a box of old documents from a cupboard. It's a long story, Jess. Are you sure you want to hear it? I'm sure. We sifted through faded bank statements and worn-out letters, my stomach twisting with every new discovery. A pattern started to emerge. Uncle Robert's name, always tied to some kind of money problem. He didn't just lend us money, did he? I asked, feeling the weight of realization settle in. Mom shook her head, her eyes filled with regret. No, he didn't. After your father left, Robert swooped in like he was some kind of savior. He offered to help with the bills, but there was always a catch. He guilted me into paying for his car repairs or covering his rent. It was never ending. A surge of anger shot through me. Why didn't you tell me? She sighed, looking down. I was embarrassed, Jess. I thought I could handle it on my own. The next day, I decided to call my grandmother. Her voice trembled on the other end of the line as she shared her own experiences. Robert, he's always been good at manipulating people. He convinced your grandfather to change his will, leaving everything to him. We didn't find out until it was too late. The puzzle pieces were starting to fall into place, but I knew I needed more. I had to reach out to Aunt Sarah, someone I hadn't spoken to in years. When I called, I could hear the surprise in her voice. Jessica, is that really you? Hi, Aunt Sarah. I'm sorry to bother you, but I need to ask you something about Uncle Robert. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. What do you want to know? Everything. For the next hour, Aunt Sarah poured out years of frustration and hurt. Robert had borrowed money from her, promising to pay it back with interest. He never did. Instead, he spread rumors, turning the family against her. I'm so sorry, Aunt Sarah. I had no idea. It's not your fault, sweetie, she sighed. Robert's always been good at covering his tracks. As I dug deeper into Robert's deceptions, my personal life started to unravel. Mike and I argued when I canceled our date night to continue my investigation. Jess, I get that this is important, but you can't let it consume you, he said, frustration clear in his voice. You don't understand. This isn't just about me, it's about my whole family. I'm trying to understand, but you're shutting me out. He was right, but I couldn't stop now. I was close to unraveling the whole truth. My job search was suffering too. I bombed an interview, too distracted by a lead I'd uncovered about Robert's business dealings. I'm sorry, but you're not the right fit for this company, the interviewer said, disappointment in her tone. I left the office feeling crushed. Was I sacrificing my future to expose the past? That night, I spread out all the evidence I gathered across my bedroom floor. Bank statements, emails, handwritten notes. It all led to one undeniable conclusion. Uncle Robert hadn't just manipulated my mom and Aunt Sarah. He'd been exploiting the entire family for years. I picked up my phone, my thumb hovering over Mike's number. I needed to talk to someone, but I hesitated. Would this only drive a bigger wedge between us? As I sat there, surrounded by the wreckage of my family's past, I realized I had a choice. I could keep digging, potentially destroying my relationships and future, or I could let it go. But then I thought of my mom, my grandmother, Aunt Sarah, all the people Robert had hurt. They deserved justice, and I was the only one who could make it happen. Taking a deep breath, I dialed Mike's number. It was time to let him in on everything. Whatever came next, I couldn't face it alone. After weeks of planning, the day of the family reunion finally arrived. My heart pounded as I watched everyone file into the rented hall, including Uncle Robert. "Thanks for organizing this, Jess," my mom said, squeezing my hand. I nodded, trying to calm my nerves. It's time we cleared the air. Once everyone was seated, I stood up. "I know you're all wondering why I called this reunion. The truth is, we've been living with a lie for too long." I pulled out a projector and began presenting the evidence. Bank statements, emails, recorded conversations, all pointing to Robert's years of manipulation and fraud. "You little snake," Robert shouted, jumping to his feet. "How dare you?" But his protests were drowned out as other family members started speaking up. "He borrowed $10,000 from me and never paid it back," Cousin Tom revealed. "He spread rumors about me to cover up his own theft," Aunt Sarah added. As Robert's facade crumbled, the family united against him. The decision to cut ties was unanimous. Unexpectedly, my investigation caught the attention of a corporate security firm. Impressed by my persistence and skill, they offered me a job in fraud detection. Months later, I was thriving in my new career, and my family was closer than ever, healing old wounds. Then, the news broke. Robert was facing charges for tax evasion and fraud in his business dealings. "Karma's a bee, huh?" Mike said, showing me the article. I smiled, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. Justice had been served without us having to lift a finger. As I reflected on everything that had happened, I realized the importance of standing up to toxic people and the power of truth. My future was no longer shadowed by Robert's manipulation. "Ready for dinner with the family?" Mike asked, grabbing his keys. I nodded, grateful for the stronger, more honest relationships we built. "More than ready. Let's go." The story ends here. What would you have done in Jessica's shoes? Would you have exposed Uncle Robert or kept the family secrets buried? Share your thoughts in the comments. Hey there, I'm Maddie. I've got a story that'll make your head spin. I'm 28, living in my childhood home, and my world is about to be turned upside down. My mom, Linda, the sweetest soul you'd ever meet, has been battling cancer for months. It's been heartbreaking watching her fade away, but I wouldn't be anywhere else. 5 years ago, Mom married Robert Walsh. He seemed like a decent guy at first, always smiling and bringing her flowers. But everything changed when his son Eric moved in. He's as warm as a block of ice. "Maddie, honey, could you bring me some water?" Mom's voice breaks through my thoughts. I rush to her bedside. "Of course, Mom. How are you feeling?" She smiles weakly. "Oh, just tired." I can't ignore how frail she looks. The doctors gave her weeks, maybe less. It's killing me inside, but I put on a brave face for her. As I help her sip some water, I hear hushed voices coming from the hallway. Robert and Eric again. They've been having these secretive chats more often lately. "Everything okay out there?" I call out. Eric's head appears in the doorway, his face expressionless. "Just discussing some business. Nothing for you to worry about." I bite my tongue. There's something about Eric that puts me on edge. Maybe it's the way he looks at me, like I'm just an inconvenience, or how he's always whispering with his dad. Later that evening, as I'm making dinner, Robert corners me in the kitchen. "Maddie, we need to talk about what happens after." I freeze, the knife hovering over the carrots I'm chopping. "After what?" He clears his throat, looking uncomfortable. After your mother." I cut him off. "I can't think about that right now. She needs me." Robert nods, but there's something in his eyes I can't quite place. Of course. We'll discuss it later." As he walks away, I can't shake the feeling that something's not right, but I push it down. Mom needs me focused on her, not on my suspicions about my stepdad and stepbrother. That night, I'm sitting by Mom's bed, holding her hand while she sleeps. I catch a glimpse of Eric watching us from the doorway, a strange, calculating look on his face. It sends a shiver down my spine. "What?" I hiss at him. He shrugs. "Nothing, just checking in." But as he walks away, I feel the walls closing in. There's a storm coming, I can feel it. And somehow, I know I'm not going to like what it brings. The beeping of the heart monitor is slowing. I hold Mom's hand tighter, trying to memorize every line on her face. Remember when we used to go to the beach every summer? I whisper, fighting back tears. You always said our house was like that, a place we'd always come back to, no matter what. Mom's eyes flutter open, a faint smile on her lips. Maddie, my sweet girl. Those were her last words. The monitor flatlined, and just like that, she was gone. I broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. Robert placed a hand on my shoulder. Maddie, I'm so sorry. I barely heard him through my grief. Eric stood in the corner, his face unreadable. As the doctor confirmed Mom's passing, Eric stepped forward. Maddie, there's something you need to see. He handed me a stack of papers. I stared at them, uncomprehending. What is this? Robert cleared his throat. Your mother made some changes to her will before she passed. I flipped through the documents, my heart sinking with each page. This can't be right. It says everything goes to you, Robert, and then I have to vacate the property within 24 hours. Eric nodded. Those are the eviction papers. I'm sorry, but you need to leave. I looked at them in disbelief. This is a joke, right? Mom would never do this to me. Robert sighed. I'm afraid it's all legal, Maddie. Linda and I discussed this. She wanted to make sure I was taken care of. Taken care of? What about me? This was my home, she promised. My voice broke as the reality set in. Mom had betrayed me. She left me with nothing. Why? I demanded, tears streaming down my face. Why would she do this? Robert looked uncomfortable. She felt you needed to stand on your own 2 feet, that you'd relied on her for too long. Each word was like a knife to my heart. Had Mom really thought so little of me? Eric stepped forward. You need to start packing. We'll give you until tomorrow evening, but then you have to be out. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My mother just died, and you're kicking me out. Where am I supposed to go? Robert shrugged. I'm sure you have friends you can stay with. We're being more than fair. Fair? I whispered, more to myself than to them. Eric's voice was cold. Life isn't fair, Maddie. It's time you learned that. I spent that night in a daze, packing what I could into suitcases and boxes. With each item I put away, another memory surfaced, now tainted by betrayal. As dawn broke, I stood in the driveway, my car loaded with what little I could take. Robert and Eric watched from the porch. I hope you're happy, I spat at them. Robert had the decency to look ashamed. Eric just stared, impassive. As I drove away from the only home I ever known, I couldn't stop the tears. Mom was gone, and with her, everything I thought I knew about love and family. I had nowhere to go, no plan. All I knew was that the person I trusted most in the world had betrayed me, and I was completely, utterly alone. I've been crashing on Megan's couch for weeks now. Every morning, I wake up hoping it's all just a nightmare. But reality hits hard when I open my eyes to an unfamiliar ceiling. Maddie, I made breakfast. You should eat something. Megan calls from the kitchen. I drag myself off the couch, feeling like a ghost in my own life. I'm not hungry. Megan sighs, pushing a plate towards me anyway. You need to keep your strength up. I pick at the food, my mind drifting back to Mom. A memory surfaces, her teaching me how to make pancakes on a lazy Sunday morning. The happiness in that moment now feels like a cruel joke. I just don't understand, I mutter, more to myself than to Megan. How could she do this to me? Megan sits beside me, her face full of concern. Maybe there's more to the story. Have you tried talking to Robert again? The thought of facing Robert or Eric makes my stomach churn. What's the point? The will was clear, she left me with nothing. My phone buzzes, another missed call from a potential employer. I've been ignoring them all. What's the use of building a career when everything can be taken away in an instant? You should call them back, Megan urges. Getting back to work might help. I shake my head. I can't. I can't do anything right now. Later that day, I find myself staring at old photos. Mom and me at my college graduation, both of us beaming with pride. Now I wonder if she was just putting on an act. Did she ever really believe in me? Megan finds me surrounded by scattered pictures, tears streaming down my face. Oh, Maddie, she says softly, sitting beside me. What if she never loved me? I choke out. What if everything was a lie? Megan puts an arm around me. That's not true. Your mom loved you so much. But her words feel hollow. If mom loved me, how could she leave me homeless and penniless? Days blur together. I barely leave the apartment. Megan tries to get me to go out, to see other friends, but I can't bear the thought of facing the world. One night, after Megan's gone to bed, I find myself packing a bag. Maybe if I just leave, start over somewhere new, I can escape this pain. As I'm zipping up the bag, Megan appears in the doorway. What are you doing? I can't stay here anymore. I say, my voice barely above a whisper. I have nothing left here. Megan's eyes fill with tears. You have me. Please, Maddie, don't go. I pause, my hand on the doorknob. Part of me wants to run, to keep running until I can't feel this pain anymore. But another part, a tiny voice in the back of my mind, tells me to stay. I don't know who I am anymore. I admit, my voice breaking. Everything I thought I knew, it's all gone. Megan takes my bag gently. Then we'll figure it out together. You're not alone in this, Maddie. I let her lead me back to the couch, feeling utterly lost and broken. As I lay there in the dark, I wonder if I'll ever feel whole again. Mom's betrayal has left a wound so deep, I'm not sure it will ever heal. I decide to stay, not because I have hope, but because I have nowhere else to go. Tomorrow is just another day of trying to piece together the shattered remnants of my life, wondering if I'll ever understand why the person I loved most in the world could hurt me so deeply. It's been 6 months since Mom died, and I'm still stuck in this fog of grief and anger. I've managed to land a small graphic design gig, but my heart's not in it. Every day feels like I'm just going through the motions. My phone rings, an unknown number. I almost ignore it, but something makes me answer. Hello, is this Maddie Thompson? It's James Carlson, Robert's old business partner. My heart races. What do you want? We need to talk. It's about your mother's will. I meet James at a coffee shop, my stomach in knots. He looks nervous as he slides a folder across the table. I can't keep quiet anymore. Robert, he forged your mother's will. I stare at him, uncomprehending. What? I saw him do it. He and Eric, they faked Linda's signature. My world tilts on its axis. No, that's not possible. James pushes the folder towards me. I have proof. Bank statements, emails. Your mother never betrayed you, Maddie. I flip through the documents, my hands shaking. It's all there. Evidence of Robert and Eric's deceit. Tears stream down my face, but this time they're tears of relief mixed with renewed grief. Why are you telling me this now? I ask. James looks down, ashamed. I was scared, but I couldn't live with the guilt anymore. The next few weeks are a whirlwind. I contact the authorities and they launch an investigation. Detectives interview me, James, even Megan. They comb through financial records and computer files. Finally, I get the call. We have enough evidence to arrest Robert and Eric Walsh for fraud and forgery. I watch from my car as they're led out of my childhood home in handcuffs. Robert looks defeated, but Eric glares at me with pure hatred. I feel nothing but a grim satisfaction. Stepping back into the house for the first time in months, memories flood back, but now they're not tainted with betrayal. I run my hand along the familiar walls, feeling like I can finally breathe again. In Mom's old room, I find something tucked behind her dresser, an envelope with my name on it. My hands tremble as I open it. My dearest Maddie, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I want you to know how much I love you. You were the light of my life, and I'm so proud of the woman you've become. This house is yours, as it always should be. It's your safe haven, just like we always said. Never doubt my love for you. Always and forever, Mom. I clutch the letter to my chest, sobbing. All the pain, all the doubt, it washes away in that moment. Mom never betrayed me. She loved me until the very end. In the following months, I start to rebuild my life. I throw myself into my design work, finding joy and creativity again. But more than that, I find purpose in helping others. I begin volunteering at a support group for victims of family fraud, sharing my story, listening to others. It helps me process my own experience. Each meeting, I feel a little stronger, a little more whole. One evening, as I'm leaving a session, a young woman approaches me. Your story, it gave me hope. Thank you. I smile, feeling a warmth I haven't felt in months. We're all in this together. As I drive home to my home, the one Mom wanted me to have, I realize that while the pain will never fully go away, I'm no longer defined by it. Mom's love was real, and it's still with me. It's in every corner of this house, in every memory we shared. I may have lost her, but I found myself again. And I know, wherever she is, Mom is proud of me for standing strong and helping others find their way out of the darkness. This is my new beginning, and I'm ready to embrace it. Now, I have a question for you. If you were in my shoes, would you have forgiven Robert and Eric for their betrayal, or would you have pushed for the harshest possible punishment? What do you think is the right balance between justice and mercy in cases of family fraud? Share your thoughts in the comments below.